It's been 5 days since the lynching of Deepu in Bangladesh. He was killed not because he had anything to do with the politics of the country or with Sheikh Hasina or with the murder of a radical leader, Osman Hadi there. He was killed simply because he was a Hindu in Bangladesh. He was killed because the political chaos in the country gave the radical Islamists in Bangladesh an excuse to again attack the one community that has somehow managed to survive down the decades despite the relentless onslaught against them. And that is why today the anger and anguish over the lynching of Deepu bubbled over onto the streets. Across India, from Jammu to Telangana, from Kolkata to Delhi, people took to the streets with cries of justice. They asked why the world is silent. Why should it be only a problem of Indians, of Hindus in India or in Bangladesh? These people were asking how a senseless, brutal, graphic murder, every second of which was captured on camera, could take place in full public view. And the police and the government of Bangladesh could get away simply by saying, oh, the factory where Deepu worked didn't tell us. They didn't tell us in time. They say that the mob was so overwhelming that we simply couldn't rescue him. We could do very little. That Deepu was accused of blasphemy and that enraged the mob beyond all control. The thing is, Deepu is just the face of 2025. The target is the Bangladeshi Hindu. A human rights group in Bangladesh has documented how between 2013 and 2021, yes, way before Sheikh Hasina was toppled, in that period, there were over 3,500 attacks carried out on the Hindu community in Bangladesh. This included 1,678 cases of vandalism and arson targeting Hindu temples. But things became downright hellish soon after the fall of Sheikh Hasina. Islamists tasted blood. They had a free run. There was nobody any longer to rein them in. Literally in the months that followed, 23 Hindus were killed and 152 Hindu temples were attacked. This is in the period between August 2024 and February 2025. And these are just the official figures. The casualties could be far greater. So when someone tells you that Deepu is merely an aberration, that he was just caught in a political crossfire, make no mistake, those people are lying. In fact, the tragedy is that even now, even after all of this, not just in Bangladesh, even here in our country, in India, it seems impossible for some people to speak up without caveats for the lives of Hindus. While some of them hem and haw or recede into a convenient silence, others outright call it a reaction to what is happening in India. That's right. Apparently, this poor factory worker, Deepu was strung up like an animal, beaten and burnt because India has a majoritarian government. When you hear such arguments, don't you wonder whether this is just false equivalence or actually trying to give cover fire to an act of murder against a minority? And that's why today one asks the questions on which the buck should stop here. Why should only a handful of people be protesting against the death of Deepu and the lives of countless others who belong to the Hindu minority like him in Bangladesh? Why is this being made out into some kind of Hindu issue, a Hindu problem? A problem that could only be taken up by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad or the Bajrang Dal or the BJP or the so-called Hindu bodies. Why don't those who agitated against the imagined wrongs and excesses of CAA today also militate against the visible atrocities of a radical regime in Bangladesh, of the kind of people that are being given a free run under the tutelage and watchful gaze of Muhammad Yunus? If they can jam the streets saying "Kagaz nahi dikhayenge" in India, why can't they organize saying "Har aadmi ki jaan bachayenge"? Or is that for them, Hindu lives are simply not human lives?
जो हालात हमारे देश में है, यहाँ वही धर्मांध फैलाने वाले कट्टरपंथी ताकतें जो हैं, जिस प्रकार से अल्पसंख्यक समुदाय के खिलाफ जो कार्रवाई कर रहे हैं, वही रिएक्शन वहां पर उस प्रकार का हो रहा है। हम बांग्लादेश में जो हमारे हिंदू भाइयों के साथ हो रहा है, ईसाइयों के साथ हो रहा है, उसकी घोर निंदा करते हैं।
दिग्विजय जी ने बिल्कुल ठीक कहा है। बांग्लादेश के अंदर कट्टरपंथियों की सरकार आ गई है। भारत के अंदर भी कट्टरपंथियों की सरकार आ गई है। वहां पर हिंदुओं पर जुल्म हो रहा है, मंदिरों को तोड़ने की बात हो रही है। भारत के अंदर मस्जिदों पर हमला हो रहा है, घरों पर मुसलमानों के बुलडोजर चलाया जा रहा है। यहाँ भी कट्टरपंथी एक समुदाय के खिलाफ काम कर रही है, सरकार काम कर रही है।
And before we take this across to our panel, I want to first go across to Dr. David Frawley, American Hindu scholar. Dr. Frawley, thank you very much for speaking to us. You know, a lot of people here in India are asking, why should we care? This essentially is a problem of Bangladesh. Why should we even interfere in what is happening in Bangladesh?
Well, Bangladesh is one, it's on your borders. It's connected to the communities in India. It's also made into a political issue in India, not so much for protecting Hindus, but for trying to go against the existing government that is more pro-Hindu. So this lack of respect or regard for human life, which has also been coming out of certain political groups and groups that are supposedly concerned with the welfare of India, Indians, and humanity is very sad. We could not imagine that happening in other countries in the world, whether it be the United States or Europe or elsewhere. You cannot abandon the issues happening nearby you. And this then becomes a major global diplomatic issue that has to be addressed. This should not be allowed or excused. If you do that, then you open the door for similar things. Similar things, of course, have happened in Pakistan. They've been an ongoing policy of Pakistan. And Bangladesh is becoming another Pakistan, and India is supposed to be quiet or excuse them for it. That is totally against intelligence. It's against journalism, and it's against human rights and human feelings. It's not just a question of what the particular identities are, and it's also a threat to India itself, because it is now showing that breakdown of law and order at your borders. And we've seen some of that going on in West Bengal, not far away. And also there may be some connections there as well. So it's very important that this is taken up as human rights, as a diplomatic issue, and that it is faced head on at government levels, but also at societal levels, and that the Indian community stands together against such blatant atrocities.
Dr. Frawley, it's interesting you mentioned that this should be treated as a human rights issue. I've always wondered that when something happens in Gaza, there are protests across the world, you know, from Europe, America, Australia. You will see people organizing. Whenever something happens, Black Lives Matter in itself became a sustained movement. Why is it that this particular issue somehow never gained traction? And even now one sees maybe a little bit of resonance in Bangladesh, yes, in India, and some of it from the Indian community, which is spread out across the world. Why doesn't it strike a chord with the rest of the world?
There's been a very unfortunate long history of Hindu lives don't matter, going way back into the colonial era, even before, during the independence movement, the taking of Hindu lives, Hindu leaders put in jail, all these things. And somehow there's been this idea that India should be an inferior country, Hindus should be not be given equal rights. Even the history of India, even the representation of what Hinduism is in other countries often needs a lot to be considered. And the diplomatic issues, it's now the world, some of these countries are unhappy with India rising because it takes away their hegemony and their ability to control the narratives on India and the related countries. And it's very narrow-minded because you're seeing the breakdown of the government of Bangladesh, of the human rights there, and it's a very bad omen for the future. And the Bangladesh has to be addressed at a diplomatic as well as humanistic level. This would be done with almost any country. And Hindus must stand together because obviously if they don't, other groups won't. India has to be very careful about its own borders and what neighboring countries are doing. And the very fact that the head of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, had to take refuge in India because she's not even, her life isn't even safe in her own country. So we have to bring the critical view to Bangladesh and make them answer for the disharmony, atrocities, and here is by groups that claim to be connected to human rights, like Yunus, and this is not happening. It has to be challenged at a media and political and diplomatic level. That's the only alternative.
I'm just going to ask you bluntly, Dr. Frawley, as somebody who has tracked how things have evolved over the last several decades. In 70 years, from 22% Hindu population in Bangladesh has come down to 8%. Are they going to eventually be wiped out?
Well, I think the goal was certainly to wipe them out. Look at the horrible atrocities and genocide of the Bangladesh war. And look what happened to India and Hindus during partition, even earlier than that. Obviously, they're being targeted. And the problem is in Bangladesh, there's no one to really support them. And even a lot of the government and the legalities and also the religious figures want to excuse it. And because Bangladesh has some connections with other countries, some of these other countries and leaders want to excuse it as a country that's slowly embracing democracy when it's denying not only democracy, but human rights, communication, and refusing to take responsibility for these atrocities when they occur. So yes, India needs to stand up. Hindus need to stand up. All the countries do, because if this is allowed in India and Bangladesh, then it's going to spread or be justified. Northeast India is a sensitive region because it has been under siege for a long time, and we must look at it in that context as well. It is also a direct threat to India itself.
Dr. Frawley, final question. Why is there the goal to wipe out the Hindu population? We've seen it happening more successfully in Pakistan. Now it's being replicated in Bangladesh. If a 14% population can live peacefully in India with an 80% majority Hindu population, why can't the same happen in Bangladesh and Pakistan?
Because in Bangladesh and Pakistan, they are still looking to take over India, to be dominant, and they are unwilling to face their own prejudices, and they're unwilling to accept what India has actually done for them. Even now, the Indian government is not causing a lot of personal hardship in Bangladesh. So they are being now politically driven towards the radical Islamist movements that were very unhappy they lost the Bangladesh war. And so that's kind of being brought back in through the back door under this issue of religious rights, when they're turning religious rights into religious oppression. And the most crude and violent form of behavior, mob violence that cannot be tolerated at legal levels, at police levels anywhere in the world. So Bangladesh has to stand up to what is happening there, defend the people who live there, and stop with this excuses and diplomatic deceit.
All right, I will leave it there. Dr. David Frawley, thank you very much for speaking to us. And this is the reason for everyone who's asking why it should matter to India, why it should matter to Hindus and people worldwide. That's your answer to stop an entire population from being wiped out. Joining us on the debate, Nalin Kohli, national spokesperson of the BJP and senior advocate in the Supreme Court, political analyst Karan Verma, political analyst Shubhankar Bhattacharya, advocate Nikhil Jain, and Kamruzaman Chaudhary. I'll start with advocate Nikhil Jain. You, why is it so difficult to speak without caveats? You know, through the day, I was listening to people like Rashid Alvi, people like Digvijay Singh, such a senior leader, a member of parliament, and he says what's happening in Bangladesh is a reaction to what is happening in India. Exactly what is happening in India because of which a man had to be killed and burnt?
So, Padmaja, I think the issue that is being raised by Priyanka Gandhi right now, or what Digvijay Singh talked about, these are things that the Congress party has actually been saying for the past 1.5 years, ever since there was a government that was a regime change in Bangladesh that happened. I can point out to statements from as long back as August 2024, when the Congress party and its leaders have been impressing upon the government that the government should intervene and do what Indira Gandhi did in 1971 and tell the Bangladeshi government that minorities, Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, or atheists cannot be persecuted, and we will not allow this in our neighborhood. Whether it is the Hindus or other minorities in Bangladesh, or the Tamils in Sri Lanka, or the Rohingyas in Myanmar, or anybody, our government, our people should stand together. We should organize. We should impress on the government to act. But this government
That's not what Digvijay Singh is saying at all. Digvijay Singh is saying, and I quote, here is what he said: radicals in India are acting against religious minorities. A reaction to that is being seen in Bangladesh. What is this radicalism in India in reaction to which Deepu Das was killed and burned?
No, see, we cannot disagree from the fact that there is a reaction to whatever happens in India, in our neighborhood, and there is a strong anti-India movement that is building up within the...
What is happening in India to which Bangladesh is reacting by killing Deepu Das? Name an instance. What is happening in India?
I'll give you the exact figure of the number of mob lynchings that have happened of Muslims in India, and radicalizing elements in Nepal as well as in Bangladesh use those lynchings and use that discrimination against Muslims that is meted out by the RSS and their Sangh Parivar. They use that to radicalize people, radicalize Muslims in Bangladesh, Pakistan, and other parts of the world in order to cause persecution against Hindus. And we need to stop radicalism in India. We need to stop radicalism.
So you're saying that India is successfully radicalizing, not just because, I want to remind you, this was the excuse given when an entire doctor's module was busted in India. It was said that because there is large-scale human rights violation, first people in India are getting radicalized, and now apparently we are also actively and successfully radicalizing an entire population in Bangladesh and in Nepal, according to you, Nikhil Jain.
Padmaja, either we can choose to have a surface level debate where we just say...
This is not surface level at all.
No, this is...
You want to talk depth? Let me give you data.
If you don't want to look at the cause of radicalization in our neighborhood and in our country, then we cannot have...
What is the cause of radicalization?
Cause of radicalization are that there are these anti-state actors, anti-India actors, which use whatever fodder they can to fuel the fire against Indians and Hindus in our neighborhood, and that is the fodder is to them is given by the BJP and the Sangh Parivar. When you have BJP MLA saying सारे हिंदुओं को हथियार उठा लेने चाहिए, मुसलमानों की लड़कियों को उनके कब्र से निकाल के we will...
Nikhil Jain, this is a surface level argument. What you just said, it's a surface level argument. Now, if you want to talk in depth, let me give you actual data, because data never lies. Let me tell you what the population of Hindus has been between 1951 and 2021 in Bangladesh. According to the East Pakistan census, Hindus were at 22% of the population in 1951. Even after the creation of Bangladesh, when the next census was done in 1974, even then, despite the mass exodus of Hindus into India, we were at 13.4% in a newly independent Bangladesh. Now, my friend, under a so-called democratic government between 1974 and 2021, the population of Hindus is down to 8%. In 70 years, Hindus have declined from 22% to 8% in Bangladesh. In comparison, in India, in 1951, Muslims were 9.8% of our population, and 2011, this is not even the 2025 figure, in 2011, Muslims stood at a 14.2% of our population. You would have the world believe that we are killing, lynching, radicalizing, and yet the Muslim population in our country has grown by 5%, as opposed to the innocent Bangladesh who has sat there on their hands getting radicalized, and they have successfully managed to decimate the Hindu population. How? How is it that the radicalizer actually manages to increase the Muslim population, but the radicalized are managing to reduce it. Nikhil.
Padmaja, I am not saying that the Indian state or the Indian people are the radicalizers. I'm specifically limiting it to the Sangh Parivar and the Modi government. 1951 to 2014, we have had secular governments, whether it was under Bajpayee.
But how did the number of Hindus go down?
Governments.
You're absolutely correct. If between 1951 and 1974, you had lovely secular governments in our country, why was Bangladesh killing Hindus, my friend?
Where have I asserted in this debate or any other Congress leader asserted that Bangladesh has been a fair secular?
You just said it. You said that the Sangh Parivar is somehow forcing Bangladesh to start killing Hindus. I am asking you, between 1955 and 1974, when the Sangh Parivar did not exist, why was Bangladesh killing Hindus from 22% to 13%?
Padmaja, I am repeating my point that anti-state actors exist independent of the Sangh Parivar. The activities of the Sangh Parivar are only fodder to that. I am not saying that Bangladesh is a secular.
Who are these anti-state actors? Who are these anti-state actors?
Anti-India. Do you want me to name them?
Yes, I want you to name them. Just like you named the Sangh Parivar and BJP, name them.
All right. Lashkar-e-Toiba, India Mujahideen. There are certain deep state actors in Bangladesh, certain deep state actors in Pakistan. How is that relevant? What the important
It is
question
relevant
is that
because you are making false equivalences and you are still not able to call out the elephant in the room. No Lashkar-e-Taiba or Jaish-e-Mohammed was there killing Deepu Das, my friend. These were normal factory workers, people who were ending their shift, people who were entering and exiting, who just found a man who had been accused of blasphemy. They launched into him, they killed him, they lynched him. There was no Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba over there. But large scale, the environment that is created in India has its ripples in Bangladesh as well. Nalin Kohli.
Padmaja, just a second.
Just a second, I'm coming back to you, Nikhil Jain. Nalin Kohli.
I've heard this debate for a fairly long time.
Yeah.
And I've heard what Mr. Jain has to say. I have several things to say and I would require a little time, Padmaja. First is, the Congress party, I'm amazed, and its supporters try to build this very macho image of the Congress party. Look at what Indira Gandhi did. Why is this happening in Bangladesh? Why is this happening in Sri Lanka? Why is this happening in Pakistan? What is the Modi government doing? Let's now look at each Congress Prime Minister. Jawaharlal Nehru. The worst defeat we've had in our history was actually the India-China war. Indira Gandhi, yes, very successful in terms of the 1971 war. Now let's pick up the 10 years of Dr. Mymensingh with Sonia Gandhi ji as the chairperson of the UPA. Not even a surgical strike, no response to the 26/11. And further, we had Sharm el-Sheikh, in which Pakistan was treated as a victim of terror. So what is this machoism about? Then the Modi government comes, there is surgical strike, there is Bal Court, there's Operation Sindoor. And all we've received from the Congress party and all of it is criticism, give us evidence, show us proof, things like that. So what is this machoism on TV? Now what are you doing? This is the track record. Let's come to the next. A very successful argument by Mr. Jain. I see no difference between the argument of Mr. Jain, and I'm choosing my words carefully, and what is those who misuse Islam, terrorists, do. They pick up a so-called cause to justify terrorism. Mr. Jain has done that equally eloquently today.
I have not done that.
Manufacturing a cause, just as Hindu terrorism, saffron terrorism was manufactured for political reasons, to today say what is happening in Bangladesh is because of the Sangh Parivar and the BJP. I'm shocked beyond compare. I can't even believe it. For a party that stood there opposed CAA, that time the Citizen Amendment Act, which was meant for this reason, to say that the minorities, which is primarily the non-Muslims in the countries that were part of this historical breakup that took place in 1947, that their coming here would be a threat to Indian Muslims.
Nikhil Jain.
Unbelievable. And today, instead of standing with the family of Deepu Das and looking at atrocities, looking at the collapse of what has happened in Bangladesh, ignoring the fact that there are 2,000 plus incidents there that are against the minorities, i.e. the Hindus, you have them trying to build an equivalence with India.
Nikhil Jain, false equivalence.
I have not come across in many days of debate to some person coming up with something as anti-national to India's cause as I've heard on this debate.
Padmaja, I'll repeat and I'll repeat again for Mr. Kohli to clearly understand that I am not saying what is happening in Bangladesh is because of the Sangh Parivar. I'm saying what is happening in Bangladesh is because of extremists. What the Sangh Parivar does certainly adds fuel to the fire, but that is not to say that the Sangh Parivar is the cause of it. Fact of the matter is Bangladesh is now becoming a rogue state that is targeting.
What is the cause, Nikhil Jain? You have spent the last 20 minutes going round in circles and I still haven't understood what is the logic you are trying to offer there, because you simply cannot bring yourself to say that there is a radicalized population and they themselves are responsible for their actions. You have to create a straw man argument and somehow put this noose around the neck of India, and I'm sorry you're failing miserably.
First of all, start conflating. No, Padmaja, first of all, stop conflating the Sangh Parivar with India. That is very disrespectful.
You are the one who's saying it. I don't even understand what is the Sangh Parivar done because of which you think that people in Bangladesh or a section of people in Bangladesh are radicalized. What is this Sangh Parivar that you have been going on and on about for the last 20 minutes? What has the Sangh Parivar done, Nikhil? Name one action. What has the Sangh Parivar done?
Padmaja, you are only nitpicking at a bit of the statement I've repeated for at least 8 times. That
because I can't make sense of it. For the life of me, I can't understand. What are you saying? Other than saying Sangh Parivar every 30 seconds for the last 20 minutes.
What have they been doing? Padmaja, Nikhil Jain, Nalin Kohli or Padmaja Joshi can't save the Hindus in Bangladesh. It has to be the government of India. It has to be the armed forces of India. It has to be the diplomatic missions of India. It is the responsibility and onus on the government.
I'm sorry. Yes, you and I can make a difference by not running down and giving a cause to the extremists in Bangladesh about a false equivalence with the Sangh Parivar or the BJP.
Mr. Kohli, you and I can raise our voice. I can see you raising your voice in solidarity with Bangladesh.
But you don't raise a voice. You give a cover fire. That is the problem, my friend. You don't raise your voice. You try and look for straw man arguments. You create these bogies. You keep parroting about Sangh Parivar. But at the end of the day, is this the BJP also, Karan Verma, trying to engage in politics? The Congress's argument is, look, Priyanka Gandhi has said inside Parliament, प्रधानमंत्री को जाकर के हिंदुओं की, क्रिश्चियंस की वॉइस उठानी चाहिए. प्रधानमंत्री अगर कुछ कर नहीं रहे हैं, it shouldn't be Priyanka Gandhi's problem.
So, Padmaja, at the outset, I am aghast at what Nikhil Jain has just said on your show, that it's the Sangh Parivar's actions. He drew an equivalence. I mean, we should not be surprised because he's Digvijay Singh's Shagird. Digvijay Singh had blamed 2611 as RSS ki sazish. So, we should not be surprised. We've seen an encore of that on your show just now. But, Padmaja, the fact of the matter is not just in words, but what if I tell you that the Congress party is pretty much in cahoots with the one that is perpetrating this sort of genocide on people, on Hindus in Bangladesh? The genocide right now being perpetrated on Hindus in Bangladesh is at the behest of Jamaat-e-Islami. And you would be surprised, it's the Congress party that takes the support of Jamaat-e-Islami in Nilambur bypoll. In fact, V.D. Satishan of the Kerala Congress is on record saying, so what? When Pinarayi Vijayan said, how can you take support from such a rabid, radical organization? It is V.D. Satishan who said, well, now they must have changed. That is the Congress party for you. They are in cahoots with Jamaat-e-Islami that is perpetrating this genocide on the Hindus in Bangladesh. So, for the life of me, the Congress party should not talk about the rights of Hindus in Bangladesh. And especially the party that opposed the CAA tooth and nail. The legislation which gave citizenship to the persecuted Hindus, Sikhs and Christians from Bangladesh, they opposed it tooth and nail, passed resolutions in 3 states against this, calling it unconstitutional and undemocratic. So now they should not at least shed these crocodile tears for Hindus in Bangladesh. You make a valid point that yes, the government needs to do more for the Hindus in Bangladesh, because this is, let's call the spade out, it is a radical Islamist massacre, rebellion, call it whatever, against the Hindus. And the government must do something about it. You know, Kadi Ninda won't help us here. The government needs to send out a strong message right from the MEA that one more Hindu life lost and the 4,000-kilometer long border with Bangladesh will be active. Our lives are precious. If Bharat cannot stand for Hindus, then who will in this universe?
Okay, Kamruzaman Chaudhary, crocodile tears and cover fire is not going to work.
And there should be no questions asked on that.
Kamruzaman Chaudhary.
First and foremost, I will just need 10 seconds of your the point that you have raised, and you have set up your entire debate on one premise. The Hindu population in Bangladesh has declined from 22% to 8%. There is no denying the fact. But do you know that this decline in Hindu population is is observed in Bangladesh, in absolute number of Hindus in 1951 was 92 lakhs. And today, as per Hemanta Biswa Sharma's statement, the Hindus in Bangladesh are 2 crores. And we all know more than 1 crore Mathua Hindu Bangladeshis have migrated to Bengal and other parts of India. Even Rajbangshis have migrated to India. So setting up a narrative that Hindus are getting...
Are you saying Hindu persecution in Bangladesh is a narrative?
Oh, yes, of course.
I am amused and amazed at the same time.
Padmaja, you have left...
Sir, so instead of percentage of population, now you want to talk about absolute numbers and you would have us believe that Hindus are surviving and thriving. Is that your argument?
Padmaja, I am just setting it right in the context that you have set up your narrative in terms of...
There is no narrative. These are actual numbers. Obviously, the overall population of Bangladesh has grown. As a percentage of that population, the number of Hindus has not just declined, it is almost now a fraction of what it was earlier. What is the argument that you are even making?
Demographic phenomenon and not a sudden social
Padmaja, I'd like
collapse.
to also come in.
Exactly, it is not a sudden phenomenon. That's exactly what I argued right in the beginning. That the persecution has been systematic and it has been continuous.
You must go into the social economic aspects of the Hindu population declining.
Sir, social economic तो सब दीपू दास ने देख लिया ना, वो social भी हो गया, economic भी हो गया. If you expect people to sit here and think that they are fools, then I have nothing to say to you. I mean, a man has just been killed. Do you know? Let me just give you some more data. And this is according to what has happened.
Exactly, and that is the point. Exactly, that is the point. A Hindu genocide is taking place. A man is killed in a brutal manner that you won't even mete out to an animal. And you have here talking about socio-economic and all these niceties. Where is that open condemnation coming from, Mr. Chaudhary? Instead, you are saying Hindus have gone up. What kind of equivalence is being given? Why is this panic? I'll make a statement on TV right here. The Indian Muslim is suffering because of what is happening in Bangladesh, because of the illegal immigration by illegal Bangladeshis and Rohingyas. Muslims in Assam have become a minority. Muslims in West Bengal will become a minority because from across the border you have a government in West Bengal bringing Rohingyas and minorities. You want to bring the Bangladesh and the Rohingya absolute level of extremism into India for your vote bank politics.
But how many Rohingyas have you caught out in India? None. But you are leading a
What about how many Rohingyas have you got? The most porous border in the country today is Bengal, where there is a whole mechanism to ensure that these people become part of the voting list. These people become part of the ecosystem there, and a genocide will now happen there too. Unfortunately. Wake up to the reality how dangerous Bangladesh is.
Mr. Chaudhary, let me give you some food for thought in this socio-political economic analysis that you want to do right now. 2022, and by the way, this is not my figure. This is a figure by a Bangladeshi human rights organization. In 2022, there were 47 incidents of violence against Hindus. In 2023, before the toppling of Sheikh Hasina, there were 302 incidents of violence against Hindus. And in 2024, it ballooned to 2,200 incidents of violence. So if you are going to sit here and say, this is all socio-political, you know, some of them migrated, some of them were Matua, some of them are sitting in Kolkata, some of them are in Howrah, Paschim. No. These are people who were actively persecuted, they were killed. And let me give you some more data. Between 2013 and 2021, over 3,500 attacks took place. A probe by Prathomalo, a newspaper that wasn't favorable to Sheikh Hasina, independently probed what happened after August 2024. 1,068 Hindu houses, Kamruzaman Chaudhary, were attacked. Not houses of Awami League or Sheikh Hasina, Hindu houses were attacked. 22 places of worship were attacked, 49 districts just between August 5th and August 21, 2024. So save me your social, political and economic analysis. One picture of that man burning, strung up like an animal, and everyone can see through your analysis.
Padmaja, can I come in now?
Yes, please go.
I am not disputing your facts and figures that you are putting out. Fundamentalist in Bangladesh or fundamentalist in India, they are radicalized both sides of the border. So I don't want to get
Let's
into
leave
that
India out
argument
for a minute.
right now
Can we
because
please?
that's not a.
Can we
Of
stop
course
about
they're
this
radical.
equivalence
The
about
state
fundamentalists
government
here
is a
and all that and this
fundamental
theory?
radical.
Can we just talk about the genocide that's taking place in Bangladesh?
Have
Why
you
this
ever talked
equivalence?
about the genocide
One person
that
from the
happened in
Congress
Assam
party
in
wants to link it to the
1983?
BJP and the Sangh Paribar. Another person
Have
in
you
a very nice
spoken-
way is trying to say fundamentalists in India. India is a democracy. No lynching of this sort takes place.
You know, the
Where it takes place,
agony,
there is rule
I
of
have
law.
to say, Mr. Chaudhary, the
There is
agony
rule
that
of
you
law.
feel
You have a
in
country
even
which goes
admitting
into
that there is a large-scale persecution happening or that there are fundamentalists is just mind-boggling. I remember the time in
Can we stop
August
and discuss
2024 when the
fundamentalism or
first
the
images
subject?
came in
Go
from
to a
Bangladesh.
university
There were
and
people
tell
like you who
them.
sat on TV and said
Smell the coffee about what is happening in Bangladesh.
that even the suggestion that Hindus were being targeted in a pointed fashion was ludicrous. People like you actually sat there and said, no, only Sheikh Hasina supporters are being attacked. Oh, these are all political workers. No communal attacks are taking place. Today, when you actually have a man being burnt in full public view, finally you have to admit that there is radicalism. And even that you want to create an equivalence with radicals in Bangladesh, radicals
What
in
is there
India.
to admit? It is a fact. There is extremism, there is radicalism, and it is slipping into a genocide against the Hindus. It's as simple as that.
But
And
then
I'm surprised that you
the
have
question
two
to your
people,
government is, Mr.
eminent
Nalin
people
Kohli,
from
what is
two
the government doing?
political parties.
Why
They
can't the government
say that
intervene?
openly as that.
If we had a Tulsi Gabbard, who is the director of national intelligence in US, unequivocally saying that these are radical elements, they have gone out and killed, there is growing radicalism, why can't the Indian government make a more strident comment? Why can't they have a special session of parliament? And why can't they be unequivocal in what they think is happening in Bangladesh vis-a-vis Deepu Das?
I will need 10 more seconds, please.
Mr. Kohli, what is the Indian government doing? If they are saying this is a cause for India to take up, if people are on the streets, why can't the government of India take a strident stand?
Well, I can only tell you one thing, Padmaja. Whatever the government is doing, and that is my government, your government, everyone's government, but I can say this with a sense of responsibility on TV. The Modi government is not one found lacking for Indians. And you pick up the last 10 years and look at it carefully. It has gone out of its way wherever there is a problem on humanitarian things and done it. You can go from COVID backwards to people stuck there, brought out citizens of other countries and rescuing it. We don't abandon it.
Okay.
Just to add to that, when it comes to Hindus in Bangladesh, rest assured, this government won't be found, wanting.
Okay, sir, in that case, let's speed up the granting of citizenship under CAA because far too many people now fear for their lives. Shubhankar Bhattacharya, just a second, because I want to also bring in the angle of Kolkata. Today, the entire India, we had people on the streets. The allegation against the government of West Bengal is that this was one state where even peaceful protests were not allowed. The people who were on the streets were lathi charged. They were left bloodied. Why? Now, even asking for the rights of people in Bangladesh is not allowed? Shubhankar Bhattacharya?
Padmaja, first of all, I really thank you that you lately realized that there's one more person still sitting on your panel and bringing me in. Now, the thing is, if you're actually very concerned about the Hindus in Bangladesh and you want to connect it with West Bengal to arrange for a political, arrangement for BJP, so that is something different. But if you really want to address the concern that why people like Dipu Das should be killed in Bangladesh, then people like Nalin Kohli should not sit in the panel and give lectures to us. He should go back and tell its ministry to take a strong step and show bravado like Indira Gandhi to stand on that, what he calls a porous border. Go ahead with your entire force and say that one more Hindu is lynched, then we are going to enter. What is stopping you from doing that? You should be having that political, your willingness, your international, your impression, if it's that good, you should be putting up that pressure. Your diplomacy should have been that good that by now, Bangladesh should have actually curbed down to your pressure rather than you're still thinking about what to do.
And I completely agree with you, but why is it that people who are on the streets today simply protesting, why were they lathi charged, Mr. Bhattacharya? I am 100% with you. 100% that there should be a stronger stand taken.
Just a point.
But while you care so much for the Hindus of Bangladesh, why are you lathi charging them in Bengal?
Lathi charging them in Bengal? Because you're using the, every time anything happens in Bengal, you're using that ground to create ruckus in West Bengal. Why shouldn't the West Bengal government do anything for that? Will we allow to, create ruckus in West Bengal, create chaos in West Bengal just because Bangladesh is in trouble? What do you mean to say by that?
Nalin Kohli.
Are you connecting?
Nalin Kohli, political opportunism. You want to dangle the Bangladesh bogey for political gains in West Bengal.
Acharya makes a fascinating argument. हिंदुओं को लाठी मारो बंगाल में, और फिर बीजेपी से पूछो कि आप बांग्लादेश में क्यों नहीं कुछ कर रहे हिंदुओं के लिए। कमाल है, अपने देश के अंदर में हिंदुओं की धुलाई कर दो और वहां के हिंदुओं की
please try to enter and you'll see the Mamata Banerjee government will be the first one to standing by your side. I'm telling you, go with your entire defense power, go and attack. I'll tell you that even Congress and TMC both will be standing side by side of yours.
No, but what is the attack, Mr. Bhattacharya? I mean, those who are protesting against the genocide of Hindus in Bangladesh were beaten in West Bengal, and you are giving us a lecture on this. Why don't you, Padmaja, play the visuals so that the people can see?
You know, Shubhankar Bhattacharya, it's really interesting that when there are infiltrators in Bengal who are actually encroaching on the rights of Indian Hindus, Indian Bengalis, your government goes on the offensive and says, we won't allow any SIR, we won't allow anyone to be thrown out of West Bengal. And today you're talking about declaring war on Bangladesh and the TMC standing side by side. But Karan Verma, I want to read out what the BJP Bengal unit say.
I agree.
It said today, what is happening? Hindu youth and women were assaulted in a show of solidarity with their fellow Bangladeshi Hindus. The Hindus of West Bengal decided to protest, but Mamata police violently assaulted them. How is this different from how Hindus are treated in Bangladesh, which is an Islamic country? Is this not a disingenuous comparison? And is this not a purely political play at what is a sensitive human right issue?
So it's definitely a stretch, Padmaja, but for our friend from TMC to say that the Mamata government will always be with you, let me remind him just a week back, it's the High Court which has rapped the Mamata government on its knuckles and said that you've not even provided land for the fencing to the BSF. It's a national security issue and you should do much better than that. That is what the Bengal High Court has said to the Mamata government. They've not even given land to the BSF. But your point is valid, Padmaja, and I want to directly talk to Mr. Kohli here. We are done with the opposition in the sense they've opposed CAA. They could not even stand for the persecuted Hindus. But what is the government doing? Since August 2024, this government has been caught napping on this issue. When Muhammad Yunus goes to China and talks that he will isolate the Seven Sisters, our government should have sent a pretty strong message. What have we done in this regard? Today we have joint exercises that are happening between the Pakistan's ISI and Bangladesh. We cannot keep bashing the Congress and TMC. For God's sake, this government needs to dig its heels in and show that it stands for Hindus in Bangladesh.
Mr. Nalin Kohli.
We are looking for the government to do now. This has been a decisive government. Now they must act on this.
Not just on the streets, not just about elections. Nalin Kohli, answer.
No, I think that's a fair expectation because after all, at the end of the day, there is no Hindu country in the world. And where would the Hindus go except come to India? Or whom would they look up to if there was a problem for them except India? So therefore, that's a fair point and I don't have any quarrel with that expectation. That expectation is logical also. And of course, I'm not in government, so I can't speak for the government. But as a party person and as a party spokesperson, we acknowledge the pain that everybody is feeling. And I'm certain that something is being done or so thought about in the corridors of power.
Well, we're waiting and we'll be watching very, very closely because this should not just be about making a point on the streets or timing it for elections. This is literally a question of people's lives. Let that image and that memory of Deepu Das never fade because today he's a symbol of what hundreds and thousands of such people have endured in Bangladesh when they were 22% to now when they are 8%. Thanks, gentlemen.